Hello, BowTieSecurityGuy here. I wanted to do a video and talk about the laid off employee mindset. As somebody who just went through this, I don't know, what was it, 9 months ago now? Um, I want you to know when you're interviewing someone who's been unemployed, like sometimes just getting out of bed that day is hard. They if they showed up to your meeting on time, they are crushing life. And I get it's kind of easy to be hypercritical and kind of always looking for that best possible talent. But what I'm telling you is some of the people who are interviewing are incredibly talented. They're just currently broken. And it's very hard for them to kind of pick themselves up for an interview and deliver exactly what you're looking for with the gusto and everything that you need, especially if you're the type of interviewer who just peppers people with questions and tries to play stump the chump to see if you can get them on something or see if they have gaps in their knowledge. Um, I will tell you, we all have gaps in our knowledge. Those of us who are neurodivergent, if you hit us with a bunch of questions, we will shut down. Um, we are very smart, but we won't be if you start tackling us with a bunch of questions. It can be very difficult for people who are neurodivergent, myself included. If I was peppered with a bunch of questions, not scenario-based questions, but just like how many IP addresses are in a /16 or just a bunch of other stuff like that, I probably would freeze and have a hard time answering them. Doesn't mean I don't know the answers. It just means that the way you're bringing the question to me may not be appropriate for my ability to deliver the answer you're looking for. So I highly recommend putting yourself in the mindset of somebody who's been unemployed for several months, knowing that every single day is a struggle just to get out of bed some days, um, let alone interview, right? So like it's basically asking someone who is bleeding out in the ER to diagnose themselves and say like, tell me what your strong qualities are. So take a moment and at least have some sympathy. During my last interview round, several of the people I interviewed were people who had been recently laid off and they hadn't interviewed for 10, 20 years. Their nervousness was absolutely palpable. But what I did to kind of help alleviate that is I told them, I'm not going to take your nervousness into account. I understand it's probably been a long time since you've interviewed. All good. Like, take a moment, let's breathe. Let's talk about something you do know. Tell me a story about tech. Like, what's one of your favorite stories that you've done where you found a problem and you solved it, and how did you do it? If you allow people to kind of just carry a conversation and tell a story as opposed to hitting them with those kind of questions or forcing them into a corner just to see what they don't know, you'll be able to get a lot more from the people you're interviewing with and really get a better handle for who they are. The person that they are currently interviewing is not somebody who they would be working for you. And I know it's hard to kind of say, like, well, Rob, if I don't know who they are and they can't perform in the interview, then why would I want to hire them? And it's a valid point. And I'm not saying you should hire someone unless you feel confident in them. What I'm saying is really read the room, look at the situation, try to empathize with their situation and where they're coming from. Some people I've talked to have been out of work for 6, 7 months. They're going to shelters to get food. They've been kicked out of their apartments. These were tech workers making a lot of money, living very well, and they just assumed that cash would always be there. Whether they made the right decisions or not doesn't matter. The situation they're in currently is one of like struggle. And it's our job as interviewers to at least be kind. During the process, I was able to narrow my interview candidate pool down to two. I was tempted to keep one of them on the hook because they were very solid. They were very good. If the other person failed a background check or didn't do well, and that's what I think a lot of people do, because I've been that number two many, many times where I've been just kind of like, I'm clearly the backup if the background check fails for the other guy. Because they hit me up every few weeks. Oh, we're still working through candidates. No, you're not. But it's nice to be wanted, even if I wasn't chosen. So I decided to do things differently, and I decided that I would rather put myself through more interviews and keep this role open longer than it would be to keep somebody on the hook. So I called that individual up and I said, I want you to know, and this was 24 hours after I finished my final round of interviews. I said, I want you to know that you are second choice, not because of your skills, but because of your leadership. You don't have as much leadership skills as the person we hired. If for some reason the background check fails or they do something else, I think I can teach you those skills. Um, but we are moving forward with another candidate, and I wanted to be upfront with you as to why. And I also wanted to say that if anything changes, I will definitely reach back out because I truly enjoyed our conversation. And I didn't want to leave you waiting the whole weekend or keeping you on the hook for several weeks, because those type of things can influence people's decision. So like, yeah, sure, you're helping yourself because you may have that backup, but like perhaps they get a job offer and they're really hoping for your job offer because they liked you more, so they turn it down and then they don't get both. You know, it's just not cool. We need to do things different, and you need to look at things from the perspective of the employee and really understand what they're going through and the struggles that they're dealing with every day with their self-worth, their self-confidence, and be sympathetic and understanding of that and do your best to kind of help them through it to get the best out of them in the interview. You know, really try to deep dive and kind of talk to them about what's exciting to them, get them talking about tech, and you know, see how their face lights up, see how they interact, you know, those different things. That's all I got. You know, it's a Friday. It's been a lovely week. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there after talking to several people and being reminded of that struggle. I wanted to talk to the employers specifically to say, do better. Like, we need to do better overall and really try to understand that mindset of an unemployed worker and the fact that they're coming into this interview struggling, and it's hard, right? So if anyone's listening to this, you need help with your interviewing, you need help with your resume, you need help with whatever, please feel free to hit me up. I'm always available on LinkedIn, and I respond when I get cycles, normally late in the evenings, but I try to check in at least once a day. But wishing everyone the best. Have a great weekend. Good luck out there.